Commander Thrace stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser Dominion's Fist and watched the view screen with satisfaction. Another world lay before them, ripe for conquest. The Velen system shimmered in the distance, its inhabited planet a blue-green jewel orbiting a yellow star. Intelligence reports said the Velens were traders and artists, not warriors. They had some defensive satellites and a few patrol ships, but nothing that could stand against the might of the Crithian Empire. This would be conquest number 48. 48 star systems in 30 years. And not a single defeat. The Crithian military machine was perfect, unstoppable, inevitable. Other civilizations saw the red and black ships emerging from hyperspace and knew their fate was sealed. Most surrendered within hours. The smart ones surrendered within minutes. Fleet status. Thrace commanded, his voice echoing across the bridge. First Officer Kale checked his displays. All 23 vessels report ready, Commander. Shields at maximum. Weapons charged. The fleet awaits your order. Thrace allowed himself a small smile. 23 warships against a peaceful trading hub. It was more than enough. It was overwhelming. That was the Crithian way. They did not believe in fair fights. They believed in crushing superiority that broke the enemy's will before the first shot was fired. Take us in, Thrace ordered. Standard approach. We will give them one chance to surrender. The fleet moved forward as one. A wall of steel and fire. Each ship was twice the size of standard galactic vessels, armed with plasma cannons and missile batteries that could crack a moon. Their shields could withstand sustained bombardment from an entire planetary defense grid. In 30 years of conquest, only 3 Crithian ships had ever been destroyed, and those losses came from accidents, not enemy action. Kale's console beeped. He frowned at the display. Commander, we have a contact. Single vessel, directly in our approach vector. Size? Thrace asked. Frigate class, approximately. It is holding position between our fleet and the planet. Thrace felt a flicker of curiosity. One ship? Some brave fool had decided to make a stand. How pointless. How tragic. Identification? Identification. Identification. Kale worked his console, pulling data from their databases. His frown deepened. Unknown configuration, Commander. The hull design does not match any known species in our records. Wait. He tapped more controls. I am picking up a transponder signal. It identifies itself as a human vessel. UHSN. Indomitable. Human? Thrace tested the word. It felt strange on his tongue. I have never heard of them. Nor have I, Commander. There is no entry for humans in our conquest records or our intelligence files. That was unusual. The Crithian Empire kept detailed records of every spacefaring species in this region of the galaxy. If the humans were not in the database, they must be new to space travel. Primitives, perhaps, who had just recently developed hyperspace capability and thought themselves powerful. Scan their vessel, Thrace ordered. Let us see what these humans have brought to die with. The Dominion's Fist's sensors washed over the human warship. Data flowed across Kale's screens. He studied it for a moment, then shook his head. Strange readings. Commander. Their hull is reinforced with some kind of composite armor. Dense. Very dense. Their power output is significant. Higher than expected for a vessel that size. Shields? Active and stable. I cannot determine their strength. Without firing on them, Thrace studied the image on the view screen. The human ship was smaller than his destroyers but larger than a typical frigate. Its design was angular, almost brutal, in its simplicity. No decorative elements, no aesthetic considerations. It looked like it was built for one purpose only: war. Open a channel, Thrace commanded. All frequencies. A moment later, Kale nodded. Channel open, Commander. Thrace straightened in his command chair. Attention, human vessel. You are in the path of the Crithian Imperial Fleet. We claim this system by right of conquest. You have one opportunity to withdraw. If you remain, you will be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to decide. The bridge fell silent. Thrace counted the seconds. Most species begged for mercy at this point. Some tried to negotiate. A few rare ones stayed silent and ran. But none had ever refused. The calm crackled to life. A voice came through, calm and steady. It spoke in flawless galactic standard, the trade language understood across known space. This is Captain Min Jun Park of the United Human Space Navy vessel, Indomitable. The Velen people have requested our protection under the Terra Defense Accord. We will not withdraw. You will not harm these people. Turn back now, and no blood needs to be shed today. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Several officers laughed. Sub-Commander Raya, Thrace's second in command, shook her head in disbelief. Did that primitive just give us an order? Thrace felt a cold amusement settle over him. Courage was admirable, but stupidity was something else entirely. Captain Park, you face 23 warships with a single frigate. You cannot possibly believe you can stop us. I know exactly what I face, Commander Thrace, the human replied. His voice remained calm, as if discussing the weather rather than his imminent death. And I know what you face. One last time. Turn back. The Velens are under our protection. How do you know my name? Thrace demanded. We have been monitoring your communications since you entered the system. Your encryption is adequate, but not exceptional. That sent a ripple of concern through the bridge crew. Kale checked his console quickly. Commander, our communication security protocols show no breach. Then this human is lying, Rhea said. Perhaps, Thrace agreed. Or perhaps they are more capable than we assumed. He reopened the channel. Captain Park, you have courage. I respect that. But courage without wisdom is just suicide. I will give you one final chance. Withdraw now, and you may leave this system alive. There was a pause. Then the human spoke again, and this time there was something hard in his voice, something that made Thrace sit up straighter. Commander Thrace, I am going to say this once more, and I want you to understand me completely. I did not come here to negotiate. I did not come here to retreat. I came here to stop you. You will not pass. You will not harm the Velens. If you want to reach that planet, you will have to go through me. And I promise you, Commander, that will cost you more than you are willing to pay. Silence filled the bridge. Thrace felt something he had not experienced in years. Genuine surprise. This human was not posturing. He was not bluffing. He truly meant to fight. Well, Thrace said softly. Raya leaned forward. Orders, Commander? Thrace studied the human ship on the view screen. One vessel against 23. The outcome was inevitable. But something about the human captain's certainty bothered him. No one faced those odds without fear, unless they knew something their enemy did not. Weapons, Thrace ordered. Target the human vessel. Fire. The Dominion's fist shuddered as its plasma cannons unleashed their fury. Bolts of superheated energy crossed the void, each one powerful enough to vaporize a city. They struck the indomitable dead center, and the human ship's shields held. Kale stared at his console, his eyes wide. Commander, their shields absorbed the full impact. Power drain minimal. Less than 8%. Thrace felt his jaw tighten. 8%. The Dominion's fist carried the most powerful weapons in the Crithian arsenal. Those plasma cannons should have overloaded the human ship's shields completely, leaving it vulnerable for the killing blow. Instead, the Indomitable floated in space, apparently undamaged. All ships, Thrace commanded, concentrate fire on the human vessel. The fleet opened fire as one. The void lit up with brilliant streams of plasma, missiles trailing fire, and energy beams that could slice through battle armor. 23 warships unleashing everything they had on a single target. It was enough firepower to crack a small moon. The human ship vanished behind a wall of explosions. The bridge crew watched the view screen, waiting for the debris field, waiting for the inevitable destruction. The explosions faded. The indomitable remained, shields glowing a soft blue but holding steady, still intact, still waiting. Impossible, Raya whispered. Before anyone could respond, the human ship moved. It did not retreat. It accelerated forward, directly toward the Crithian fleet. What is it doing? Kyle asked. The comm channel opened again. Captain Park's voice was still calm, but now it carried a weight that made Thrace's blood run cold. That was your warning shot. Here is ours. The indomitable fired. A single projectile streaked across space, moving faster than anything Thrace had ever seen. It was not energy. It was solid matter, accelerated to incredible velocity. The round struck the destroyer Pride of Krithia amidships. The ship's shields flared, held for half a second, then collapsed like paper. The projectile punched through the armor plating, through the interior compartments, and out the other side. Atmosphere vented into space. The destroyer listed to one side, powerless, crippled in a single shot. "Report!" Thrace shouted. Kale's hands flew over his console. "The Pride is heavily damaged, Commander. Their main reactor is offline. Hull breaches on 7 decks. They are requesting immediate assistance." "What kind of weapon was that?" Raya demanded. "Kinetic accelerator," Kale said, his voice shaking slightly. "A railgun, I think. But the velocity. Commander, nothing should be able to accelerate matter that fast. The energy requirements alone. Can our shields stop it?" Thrace interrupted. Kale hesitated. "I do not know, Commander. Our shields are designed to dissipate energy weapons. Against solid projectiles at that velocity, I cannot say for certain." Thrace watched the human ship. It was still advancing, moving into the heart of his fleet formation. What kind of captain charged into 23 enemy vessels? What kind of species built ships that could withstand concentrated fire and then strike back with such precision? "All ships, attack formation Delta," Thrace ordered. "Surround that vessel. Concentrate all fire. If we cannot break its shields, we will drain them through sustained bombardment." The fleet moved to comply. Warships broke from their formation, spreading out to encircle the human vessel. It was a standard Crithian tactic, one they had used dozens of times. Surround the enemy, attack from all sides, overwhelm them with sheer volume of fire. The Indomitable did not wait to be surrounded. It dove beneath the Crithian formation, rolling through space with an agility that should have been impossible for a ship its size. As it moved, its weapons fired. Not the massive railgun, but smaller point defense systems. Bright streams of projectiles filled space, intercepting every missile the Crithians launched. Not some missiles. All of them. Every single one was destroyed before it could reach its target. "Their targeting systems?" Kale said, awe creeping into his voice. "Commander, their accuracy is beyond anything in our database. They are tracking and destroying missiles that are designed to evade point defense." A Crithian cruiser, the Sword of Victory, moved to intercept the human ship. Its captain was brave. Thrace would give him that. The sword came in close, plasma cannons blazing. The human vessel's shields flared but held. Then the Indomitable rotated and fired. Not the railgun. Energy weapons this time. Bright blue beams that sliced through space with surgical precision. The beams cut through the sword's shields like they were not even there. They carved into the cruiser's hull, targeting specific points. The engine section exploded. The weapons arrays went dark. In 3 seconds, the Sword of Victory became a drifting wreck. 2 ships down, Raya reported, her voice tight. "Commander, we need to reassess." "Continue the attack," Thrace roared. He would not retreat. He would not run from a single enemy vessel, no matter how advanced. The Crythian Empire did not flee. The indomitable moved through the fleet like a predator among prey. It did not fight like any opponent Thrace had ever faced. Most species tried to keep their distance, to use long-range weapons and stay safe behind their shields. The human ship did the opposite. It moved into close range, where every weapon could reach it, where it should have been most vulnerable, but it was not vulnerable. Its shields held against everything the Crythians threw at it. Its point defense systems created an impenetrable barrier against missiles and torpedoes, and its own weapons struck with devastating accuracy, always targeting the most critical systems: engines, weapons, shield generators. The human captain was not trying to destroy the Crythian ships. He was disabling them, removing them from the fight with minimal loss of life. A third destroyer went dark, its main power cut. A fourth lost maneuvering control and drifted away from the battle. A fifth took a railgun round to its bridge, and though the ship survived, its command crew did not. "Commander," Kale said urgently, "we have lost contact with 5 vessels. 8 more are reporting significant damage. The fleet is falling apart." Thrace gripped the arms of his command chair. This was not happening. This could not be happening. The Crythian Empire did not lose. They were the predators. They were the ones who struck fear into lesser species. They were not the ones who died while an enemy remained untouched. "How?" he demanded. "How is one ship doing this?" Raya studied her tactical display. "It is not just their technology, Commander. Their crew, the way they coordinate, the way they respond. Every decision they make is the right one. Every shot they fire hits its target. They are not making any mistakes." "Everyone makes mistakes," Thrace said. "Then they have not made theirs yet," Raya replied. The Indomitable completed another pass through the fleet. A 6th ship fell behind, trailing atmosphere. The human vessel's shields were lower now, down to perhaps 60%. But it showed no signs of stopping, no signs of retreating. It just kept coming, kept fighting, kept taking apart Thrace's fleet, piece by piece. "Commander," Kale said quietly, "we need to consider our options. If this continues—" "Cease fire," Thrace commanded suddenly. "All ships, cease fire." The bombardment stopped. The Indomitable also stopped firing. It held position, still, between the Crythian fleet and the planet. Still waiting, Thrace opened a channel. "Captain Park, I wish to speak with you." Directly. There was a pause. Then the human voice returned. "I am listening, Commander Thrace." "What are you?" Thrace asked. The question came out before he could stop it, before pride could hold it back. "What kind of species builds ships like this? Fights like this?" The human captain was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "We are humans, Commander. We come from a planet called Earth, and we fight like this because we choose to protect others. That is all you need to know." "You have proven your point," Thrace said, hating the words but forcing them out. "You have bested my fleet. But you are one ship. Even if you destroy every vessel here, the Crythian Empire spans 47 star systems. We will return with more ships, hundreds of ships. What will you do then?" "You are right," Captain Park said. "One ship cannot defeat your entire empire. But I do not need to. I just need to hold this position until my reinforcements arrive." Thrace felt ice form in his chest. "Reinforcements? Check your sensors, Commander." Kale worked frantically at his console. His face went pale. "Commander, 3 more human vessels just entered the system, destroyer class, and long-range sensors show 15 more ships on approach. They will arrive within the hour. 19 human warships. If one could do this much damage, what could 19 do?" Captain Park's voice came through the comm one more time. "The Velans asked for our help, Commander. We do not abandon people who trust us." Thrace ordered his fleet to pull back to a safe distance. They maintained weapons lock on the human ships, but no one fired. The situation had changed completely. This was no longer a simple conquest. This was something the Crythian Empire had never faced before. A military force that could actually match them. He sat in his command chair and thought. His pride screamed at him to continue fighting, to die with honor, rather than retreat. But his duty was to his crew, to his empire. Throwing away lives for nothing was not honor. It was stupidity. Open a secure channel to Captain Park, Thrace said. Private communication only. Kale set it up. A moment later, Captain Park's face appeared on Thrace's personal view screen. The human looked younger than Thrace expected, perhaps in his late 30s by human standards. His eyes were dark and sharp, and he wore a neat blue uniform with simple insignia. He did not look like a warrior who had just crippled a Crythian fleet. He looked like an ordinary person doing an ordinary job. Commander Thrace, Park said, nodding slightly. Thank you for agreeing to talk. You have earned that much, Thrace admitted. Your ship and your crew fight with exceptional skill. I have never seen anything like it. High praise from someone who has conquered 47 star systems, Park replied. There was no mockery in his voice, just a simple statement of fact. Yes, Thrace said. 47 systems in 30 years. We have never been defeated. Never retreated. Until today. The admission tasted bitter. But Thrace forced himself to continue. I need to understand what I am facing. You mentioned Earth. Tell me about your world. Park leaned back slightly. Earth is what the galactic scientific community classifies as a Class 12 death world. We did not know that classification existed until we achieved spaceflight 80 years ago. When we met other species and learned about their homeworlds, we realized ours was unusual. Class 12? Thrace frowned. What does that mean? It means Earth is one of the most hostile environments in known space that still produces intelligent life, Park explained. Our gravity is 1.8 times galactic standard. Our atmosphere has high oxygen content, which supports larger and more aggressive organisms. We have extreme weather patterns. Hurricanes that can level cities. Tornadoes that tear apart everything in their path. Droughts and floods that reshape continents. Thrace listened, trying to imagine such a world. His own homeworld, Crythia Prime, was a paradise by comparison. Gentle weather, moderate gravity, few dangerous predators. The Crythian species had evolved in comfort, their main challenges coming from each other, not their environment. Our planet has earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, Park continued, regions that freeze solid for half the year, and deserts where the temperature reaches levels that would kill most species in minutes. We have insects that carry deadly diseases, plants that are poisonous to touch, predators that hunt in packs and never give up. And yet you survived, Thrace said. We did more than survive. We adapted. We evolved. Park's expression was neutral, but his words carried weight. Humans are persistence hunters. Commander, do you know what that means? Thrace shook his head. It means our ancestors hunted prey not by being faster or stronger, but by never stopping. We would chase an animal for hours, sometimes days, until it collapsed from exhaustion. We have exceptional endurance. We can regulate our body temperature through sweating, which lets us run in heat that would kill other predators. We can survive injuries that would be fatal to most species and keep fighting. Thrace felt something cold settle in his stomach. Your entire species evolved for war. No, Park said firmly. We evolved for survival. War is something we learned later, from each other. But yes, our evolutionary traits make us effective soldiers. High endurance, strong pain tolerance, ability to function under extreme stress, pattern recognition that lets us learn enemy tactics quickly. And most importantly, we developed pack bonding. We form intense, loyal attachments to our groups, our tribes, our nations. We will die for each other, without hesitation. That explains your crew's coordination, Thrace said. They fight as one unit. They do. Park agreed. And they fight with the understanding that retreat is not an option when lives depend on us. The Velans asked for our protection. We gave them our word. To humans, a promise like that is sacred. Thrace studied the human captain. Your world made you into warriors. But the Crithian Empire has numbers. We have 47 star systems. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. You said yourself that one ship, even 19 ships, cannot defeat an empire. That is correct, Park said calmly. So what happens now? Thrace demanded. You hold this system. We retreat. Then what? We both know this is not over. The Crithian Sovereign Council will not accept this defeat. They will send more ships. Eventually, you will be overwhelmed. Park was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Let me ask you a question, Commander. Why does the Crithian Empire conquer? The question caught Thrace off guard. We conquer. Because we are strong. Because we can. It is our right. Is it? Park's voice remained neutral, but his eyes were hard. The Velans never threatened you. Most of the worlds you have conquered never threatened you. They were peaceful civilizations, trading hubs, agricultural colonies. You did not conquer them for defense. You conquered them because they could not stop you. That is the way of the galaxy, Thrace said defensively. The strong take from the weak. It was true, Park corrected, until now. Because humanity has decided it will not be true anymore. At least not in the systems we can reach. Thrace leaned forward. You think you can stop an entire empire? With what? A few dozen ships? Today we have 19 ships in this system, Park said. But humanity has been building our fleet for 80 years. We have 247 warships currently in service. Another 112 under construction. We are not a large navy by galactic standards, but every one of our ships is built to the same standard as the Indomitable. And every one of our captains has trained their entire adult life for combat. 247 ships like the Indomitable. Thrace tried to calculate the mathematics of that, tried to estimate how many Crithian vessels would be needed to overcome such a force. The numbers were not good. We have also made defensive pacts with 19 other star systems. Park continued. Species who were living in fear of empires like yours. We have promised to defend them. And we will. Every system you attack from this point forward, you will find human warships waiting. We will be the wall you break against, Commander Thrace. We will be the line you cannot cross. You would go to war with us? Thrace asked. A full war, potentially lasting years? We would prefer not to, Park said honestly. War is terrible, even when it is necessary. But if the choice is between war and allowing you to continue conquering peaceful worlds, then yes, humanity will fight. And we will not stop until either you stop your expansion or until your empire is no longer capable of threatening anyone. Thrace sat back in his chair. This was unprecedented. The Crithian Empire had faced resistance before, but never like this. Never from a species that had both the capability and the will to stand against them indefinitely. What do you want? He asked finally. Peace, Park said simply. Real peace. The Crithian Empire ceases all aggressive expansion. You open negotiations with your conquered territories about their autonomy. You respect the sovereignty of other species. In return, humanity guarantees your security. Any empire that threatens Crithian territory will find themselves facing human warships in your defense. You would defend us? After we tried to conquer the Velans? We would defend you because peace is better than war, Park said. Because protecting others is what we choose to do. Even others who have made mistakes. Thrace laughed. But there was no humor in it. My government will never agree to this. The Sovereign Council believes in Crithian supremacy. They will see your offer as an insult. Then they will learn a hard lesson, Park said, and his voice went cold. Because if the Crithian Empire continues its conquests, humanity will stop you. Not eventually, not someday, starting now. Every world you attack, we defend. Every fleet you send, we destroy. You will not expand another light year, Commander Thrace. That is not a threat. It is a promise. The channel went silent. Thrace looked at the human captain and saw absolute certainty in his eyes. This was not bravado. Park meant every word he said. I will transmit your terms to the Sovereign Council, Thrace said finally. But I cannot promise they will listen. Then we will be here when they send the next fleet, Park replied. And the one after that. And the one after that. However long it takes, Thrace nodded slowly. You are a strange species, Captain Park. Powerful enough to threaten an empire. Yet you offer peace. Capable of great violence, yet you fight to protect others. I do not understand humans. You will, Park said quietly. Given time. Everyone does. Thrace sat alone in his quarters, staring at the datapad in his hands. The conversation with Captain Park had ended hours ago, but the human's words still echoed in his mind. He should have been planning his next move, coordinating with the Sovereign Council, preparing for the next phase of the conflict. Instead, he found himself researching humanity. The galactic information networks had surprisingly little about them. Humans had only achieved spaceflight 80 years ago, which made them newcomers by galactic standards. But in those 8 decades, they had spread across 23 star systems and established themselves as a significant presence. Their technology advanced at an alarming rate. Their economy was stable. And their military, though small, had never lost a major engagement. Thrace found records of human mercenaries who had served in various conflicts across the galaxy. The reports were consistent. Humans were tough, adaptable, and refused to surrender even in hopeless situations. One account described a human destroyer called the Perseverance that had held position against 7 pirate vessels for 14 hours while protecting a colony evacuation. The ship's captain had fought with half his crew dead and life support failing, but he never abandoned his post. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found the Perseverance drifting powerless in space, but all 7 pirate ships had been destroyed or disabled. Another report detailed human ground forces defending a mining colony from raiders. The humans had been outnumbered 5-1. Standard military doctrine said they should have retreated and waited for support. Instead, they held their ground for 3 days, fighting from positions they had fortified during the battle. When the raiders finally withdrew, they had taken 70% casualties against a force a fraction of their size. The pattern was clear. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not calculate odds and retreat when logic said the battle was lost. They fought with a determination that bordered on madness, and somehow, that determination often led to victory. A knock at his door interrupted Thrace's thoughts. Enter, he called. Sub-Commander Raya stepped in, looking tired. She had been coordinating damage reports and crew transfers from the disabled ships. Commander, I have the final casualty count. 37 dead, 112 wounded. 5 ships require major repairs at a shipyard. 3 more can be repaired in the field, but they will be non-combat capable for at least a week. Thrace nodded slowly. 37 dead. That was more casualties than the Crithian Empire had suffered in the last 10 conquests combined. And it had come from a single, human warship. Sit, he told Raya. She took the chair across from him, her military posture relaxing slightly now that they were speaking privately. I have been thinking, Raya said carefully, about what you told me regarding your conversation with the human captain. About his offer. And, Commander, what if he is right? What if we should consider peace? Thrace looked at his second-in-command sharply. You would have us surrender to these humans? Not surrender, Raya said quickly. But perhaps, reconsider our path. Commander, I have served in the Crithian military for 15 years. I have been part of 12 conquests. and I have always believed we were strong, that our victories proved our superiority." She hesitated. "But today, I watched a single ship tear apart our fleet, and I realized something. We have never been tested. We conquered weak opponents and called ourselves mighty, but we have never faced an enemy that could truly match us. Until now," Thrace said quietly. "Yes, and if we continue this path, if we refuse the human offer and keep expanding, we will face them again and again. Maybe we win eventually through numbers. Maybe we develop new weapons that can match theirs. But how many Crythians die before that happens? Thousands? Millions?" Thrace did not answer immediately. He thought about his crew, the soldiers who trusted him to lead them wisely. He thought about the families waiting back on Crythia Prime for their loved ones to return, and he thought about the 37 who would never return. The Sovereign Council will not accept peace terms from a species they see as inferior, Thrace said finally. They will demand we continue fighting. Then perhaps the Council needs to see what we saw today, Raya replied. Perhaps they need to understand what we are actually facing. Before Thrace could respond, his comm unit chirped. It was Kale from the bridge. "Commander, we have an incoming transmission from Crythia Prime. The Sovereign Council wishes to speak with you. Immediately. Round. Fedian Telper. One sign on Kama. Route it to my quarters," Thrace said. He looked at Raya. "Stay. They should hear from both of us." The view screen on Thrace's wall activated. 5 faces appeared. The members of the Crythian Sovereign Council. Chancellor Vorik, the head of the council, spoke first. His face was hard, his eyes cold. "Commander Thrace, we have received your preliminary report. Explain to us how a single enemy vessel defeated an entire Crythian fleet." "It did not defeat us, Chancellor," Thrace said carefully. "But it did force us to reconsider our approach. The human warship—" "We do not care about the details of your failure," Vorik interrupted. "We care about results. You were sent to conquer the Velen system. You have not done so. This is unacceptable." Thrace felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice level. "Chancellor, with respect, the situation has changed. The humans are not a weak species we can easily conquer. They have advanced technology, skilled crews, and most importantly, the will to stand against us indefinitely. If we continue to pursue aggressive expansion into their sphere of influence, we will face a war we may not win." "Are you suggesting the Crythian Empire should fear these humans?" another council member demanded. "I am suggesting we should respect them," Thrace replied. "There is a difference. The human captain has offered peace terms. They will guarantee our security if we cease our conquests and—" "Enough!" Vorik's voice cracked like a whip. "The Crythian Empire does not negotiate with inferiors. We do not accept terms from species who dare to stand in our path. You will return to Crythia Prime immediately. We will send another fleet, a larger one, and a commander who understands that retreat is not an option." "Chancellor, that would be a mistake," Raya interjected. "I witnessed the battle firsthand. Sending more ships against an enemy we do not fully understand is—" "You are dismissed, Sub-Commander," Vorik said coldly. "This discussion is for command-level officers only." Raya's face flushed with anger, but she remained silent. Thrace felt his own frustration building. The council was making decisions based on pride, not tactical reality. "Chancellor Vorik," Thrace said, keeping his voice calm through sheer force of will. "I have commanded Crythian forces for 20 years. I have led successful campaigns across a dozen systems. I am telling you, as an experienced military officer, that the humans represent a genuine threat. If we ignore that threat, many Crythians will die. Then they will die with honor." Vorik replied. "Better that than live with the shame of retreat. Commander Thrace, you have 48 hours to return to Crythia Prime. You will be reassigned. The Velen conquest will be completed by someone with more determination." The transmission ended. Thrace stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. They are going to get thousands of people killed, Raya said quietly. All because they cannot admit, we might have made a mistake. Thrace stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, he could see the human warships holding position around the Velen planet. 19 vessels, each one as capable as the indomitable. And more coming, Captain Park had said. Hundreds more. KL, Thrace said into his comm unit. Secure channel to the human flagship. Tell Captain Park, I need to speak with him again. Privately. A few minutes later, Park's face appeared on Thrace's screen. The human captain looked curious, but wary. Commander, I thought your government would need time to consider our offer. They have considered it. Thrace said. They rejected it. The Sovereign Council is sending another fleet. A larger one. They intend to overwhelm your forces through sheer numbers. Park's expression did not change. I see. Then we will meet them when they arrive. More people will die, Thrace said. Crithians and humans both. That is for your government to decide, Commander. No. Thrace said firmly. It is for me to decide. I am the one who gives the orders that send my people into battle. I am the one who writes letters to their families when they do not come home. And I will not do that again for a war that serves no purpose except satisfying the Council's ego. Park studied him carefully. What are you saying, Commander Thrace? Thrace took a deep breath. What he was about to do would be considered treason by the Crithian Empire. He would be dishonored, possibly executed. But he thought about his crew. He thought about all the soldiers who would die in a pointless war. And he made his choice. I am saying that I will not lead my fleet against you again, Thrace said. I will return to Krithia Prime as ordered. I will report to the Council. And I will tell them, officially and publicly, that any further attacks on human-protected systems will result in catastrophic casualties. I will make it clear that this war cannot be won through simple force. They will relieve you of command, Park said. Probably. But maybe, just maybe, some members of the Council will listen. And even if they do not, I will have done what I could to prevent unnecessary death. Park was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. You are a good officer, Commander Thrace. Your empire is fortunate to have you. I hope they see it that way, Thrace said with a bitter smile. If they do not, I may be looking for a new career soon. Oh, 6 months had passed since the confrontation at the Velen system. Commander Thrace stood in the council chambers on Krithia Prime, watching Chancellor Vorik sign the document that would change the Crithian Empire forever. The old man's hand shook slightly as he wrote his name. And Thrace could not tell if it was from age or from anger. The document was called the Indomitable Accords, named after the human warship that had stopped the Crithian fleet. It was a peace treaty. Though Vorik refused to call it that, he called it a strategic realignment of imperial policy. The words were different, but the meaning was the same. The age of Crithian conquest had ended. The path to this moment had been difficult. When Thrace had returned to Krithia Prime and given his report to the full council, they had been furious. They stripped him of his command and placed him under house arrest for defying their orders. Then they sent a new fleet to the Velen system, commanded by Admiral Dross, a hardliner who believed in Crithian supremacy above all else. Dross had taken 40 ships and attacked the human defensive position. When it was over, 11 Crithian vessels were destroyed, 19 more were crippled, and Dross himself was dead. The humans lost 2 ships, damaged, and 0 crew deaths. They had fought with precision and control, disabling enemy vessels whenever possible, but defending themselves with lethal force when necessary. After that disaster, the Council had no choice but to listen. They released Thrace from arrest and asked him to negotiate with the humans on their behalf. The talks had taken months, with both sides making concessions. The final agreement was more generous than Thrace had expected. The Crithian Empire would cease all aggressive expansion immediately. They would open negotiations with each of their 47 conquered systems, allowing those worlds to choose independence, federation status, or continued membership in the empire with full representation in the Sovereign Council. Most chose independence. Some chose federation. A few, surprisingly, chose to remain as full members, though now they had voices in government. In return, humanity guaranteed the security of Crythian space. Any external threat to the Empire would be met by human warships fighting alongside Crythian forces. The humans also provided access to some of their technology, particularly in defensive systems and medical science. And they offered trade agreements that would help the Crythian economy transition from conquest-based expansion to peaceful commerce. The most important part of the accords was simple. The Crythian Empire acknowledged the sovereignty of all spacefaring species and agreed to resolve disputes through negotiation rather than force. Vorik finished signing and set down the pen. He looked at Thrace with cold eyes. Satisfied? Commander? This was never about my satisfaction, Chancellor, Thrace replied. It was about the survival of our people. We could have fought them, Vorik said quietly. We could have built more ships, developed new weapons. We might have won, eventually. And how many would have died? Thrace asked. Thousands? Millions? For what? So we could continue conquering worlds that never wanted to be part of our empire? Vorik did not answer. He simply stood and walked out of the chamber, his shoulders bent under the weight of his pride's defeat. Sub-Commander Raya, who had been standing silently by the wall, approached Thrace. She had been promoted to commander after the council realized they needed officers who understood the new reality the Empire faced. The human delegation is waiting in the reception hall. Captain Park requested to speak with you privately, before the public ceremony. Then I should not keep him waiting, Thrace said. He found Park standing by a window in the reception hall, looking out at the Crythian capital city. The human captain wore his dress uniform, dark blue with simple silver insignia. He turned when Thrace entered, and offered a small smile. Commander Thrace. Congratulations on the treaty. Your people will benefit from peace. Will they? Thrace asked, unable to keep the bitterness from his voice. Half the council sees this as surrender. Many Crythians believe we have been humiliated. Give them time, Park said. People need time to adapt to change. In a few years, when they see the benefits of peace, when they trade with other species as equals rather than conquerors, they will understand. You sound very certain of that. I am, Park replied. Because we have seen it before. Humanity fought terrible wars against itself for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed our own world several times. But we learned eventually that peace is more valuable than victory. That cooperation is stronger than domination. Your people will learn the same lesson. Thrace moved to stand beside Park at the window. Can I ask you something? Of course. When you blocked our path at Velen, when you faced my entire fleet with a single ship, were you afraid? Park considered the question. Yes. I was terrified. My crew was terrified. We knew we might die that day. Then why did you do it? Thrace demanded. Why risk your life for strangers? The Velens were nothing to you. You owed them nothing. They asked for our help. Park said simply. That was enough. You see, Commander, humanity learned something important about ourselves over the centuries. We learned that we are capable of terrible cruelty when we fight each other. We can be violent, destructive, even monstrous. That capacity for violence is part of our nature, built into us by our harsh world. Then why not use it to conquer others, as we did? Thrace asked. Because we also learned that we have a choice. Our nature gives us the capacity for violence, but it also gives us the capacity for compassion, for empathy, for protecting those weaker than ourselves. We evolved as pack animals, as social creatures who succeed by working together. And we decided, as a species, that we would choose compassion over cruelty, that we would use our strength to protect others rather than dominate them. Park turned to face Thrace directly. That is why we fought you at Velen. Not because we wanted to, not because we hate the Crithian people, but because the Velens needed protection, and we had the power to provide it. Someone has to stand against aggression, Commander. Someone has to draw the line and say, no further. We decided it would be us. Thrace was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I think I understand now. You are warriors, but you fight for others, not for yourselves. That makes you different from any species I have encountered. We fight for ourselves too, Park admitted. We have interests to protect, like any nation. But we try to balance those interests with a responsibility to help others when we can. It does not always work perfectly. We make mistakes, but we try. And if the Crithian Empire had refused your offer? Thrace asked. If we had continued to fight? Park's expression hardened. Then we would have stopped you. However long it took. Whatever it cost. Because allowing you to continue conquering peaceful worlds was not an option we could accept. You would have fought until one of us was destroyed. If necessary, yes. But we are glad it did not come to that. Thrace looked out at the city again. The capital was beautiful in the evening light, its towers gleaming. He thought about all the worlds his empire had conquered, all the people who had lived under Crithian rule without choosing it. And he thought about the future, where those people would be free to govern themselves. Thank you, Captain Park, he said quietly. For what? For stopping us. I could not see it at the time, but you did my people a service. You forced us to look at what we had become, to question whether conquest was really strength, or just bullying those weaker than ourselves. Park put a hand on Thrace's shoulder briefly. You did the hard part, Commander. You were willing to change your mind when presented with new information. You put your people's welfare above your pride. That takes real courage. The Crithian Empire is lucky to have officers like you. A chime sounded, indicating the public ceremony was about to begin. Park moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing, Commander. If you ever need anything, if the transition to peace proves difficult, contact me. Humanity remembers its friends. Even former enemies? Thrace asked with a slight smile. Especially former enemies, Park replied. They make the best friends, in our experience. They already know our capabilities, so there are no surprises later. The ceremony was brief. Leaders from both species spoke about the importance of peace and cooperation. The galactic news networks covered it extensively. Within hours, the indomitable accords were the most discussed topic across known space. Other aggressive empires watched nervously. Peaceful civilizations celebrated, and many species began reaching out to humanity, asking if they too could be included in the Terra Defense Accord. A year later, Thrace stood on the bridge of a new Crithian vessel, the Peaceful Dawn. It was not a warship, but a diplomatic courier, carrying Crithian ambassadors to various systems to establish trade relationships. Thrace had been reassigned from military service to the diplomatic corps, a position he had not expected but found surprisingly fulfilling. Raya stood beside him, now serving as his executive officer. Together, they watched the stars stream past as they traveled toward their next destination. Do you ever miss it? Raya asked quietly. The military life, the conquests. Thrace thought about the question. He remembered the thrill of victory, the pride of commanding a powerful fleet. But he also remembered the faces of his crew when he had to tell them friends had died. He remembered the 37 casualties from the battle at Velen. And he remembered standing on burning worlds, watching civilizations forced to submit to Crithian rule. No, he said finally. I do not miss it. This is better. Harder in some ways, but better. The comm system activated. A familiar voice came through. Crithian vessel, Peaceful Dawn. This is Captain Park of the UHSN Indomitable. We are on patrol in this sector. Just wanted to say hello. Thrace smiled and opened the channel. Captain Park, it is good to hear from you. All is well? All is well. Safe travels, Commander. And to you, Captain. As the channel closed, Thrace looked out at the stars and thought about how much had changed. The Crithian Empire had conquered worlds with ease, spreading across the galaxy with nothing to stop them. Until a human warship had blocked their path. Until a species from a death world had looked at them and said, "No further." Until someone had cared enough about strangers to fight for them. The galaxy was different now. Better, Thrace thought. And the Crithian people were learning what it meant to be part of a community rather than rulers of an empire. It was a good change. Even if it had taken a human warship to make it happen.